Peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome to another Tuesday evening of Spotlight here on JTV. I'm Edgewenka, and we have a very informative and interesting program for you. I have two very special guests, Mr. Dalen Martin and Ms. Rosanna John. They're from the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus in Barbados, and they're here in the BVI for a few days to do some specific things. We're going to find out what they're here to do. We're going to talk to them about young people's issues in the region, in their neck of the woods, some of what they think on some of the issues like regional integration, cultural exchanges, interaction between various Caribbean countries, youth in politics, youth development, so we're going to have a general conversation with these young people to see how they match up, for lack of a better word, with other Caribbean youngsters and youngsters in the Virgin Islands. So it's going to be very interesting. We're going to get right back with these young people. I'm going to introduce them to you when we come back after these words from our sponsors. Keep it locked right here to Spotlight.
This program is sponsored by the law firm of J.S. Archibald & Co. and by the trust company J.S. Archibald Trust Services Limited, both of Roadtown, Tortola, BVI.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'd like to welcome my guests, Dalen, Rosanna. Welcome to Spotlight. Welcome to the BVI.
Good night. Thank you. It feels good to be here.
It's a pleasure.
Good. It's your first time in the BVI?
Yeah.
Yep, first time.
Now, you guys go to school in Barbados, University of the West Indies in Barbados, but you're not necessarily from Barbados.
No.
Okay.
No, we're not. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
So.
And I'm from the Spice Island, Grenada.
Spice Island, Grenada, not Meg.
Yes.
Yes. Good. And you're here in the BVI. You're a member of a program in UWI, University of the West Indies. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, the name of the program or the name of the group is called UWI STAT, S-T-A-T. Now, S-T-A-T means students today, alumni tomorrow. And essentially, what we are called are ambassadors of the Vice Chancellor, or the student representatives of the Vice Chancellor. And as ambassadors, our primary mandate is to promote the University of the West Indies as the premier tertiary education institution in the region, and a number of other objectives which include promotion of Caribbean integration, promotion of HIV/AIDS awareness, and promotion of youth leadership, and of course the promotion of encouraging alumni relations and making students aware that there is an alumni association on the university, in the university.
So you go all over the Caribbean and you try to sell the University of the West Indies.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Okay. And why are you in the BVI at this particular time? Is there a reason for this time of the year, or is it just falls within a certain schedule? How is it that this time is chosen for you to come to the BVI?
It just fell within the schedule. We usually do it from November to February. And we were told that it was best for us to come at this time.
Okay. And while you're here, what sort of activities you're going to be involved in?
Well, the activities include school visits, so we would visit secondary schools and just give them general information about the university, which programs are being offered, the different campuses that the university has. There are 4 campuses, although a lot of people think there are 3 campuses. Those are the Mona campus in Jamaica, the St. Augustine campus in Trinidad and Tobago, the Cave Hill campus in Barbados, and the Open campus, which is online. So that is essentially what we try to enlighten the students with. And we went to the Elmo Stout High School this morning and we spoke to some young people. They were excited about it, and it really brought satisfaction to us to see the young people so excited about tertiary education. And
here in the Virgin, in the BVI, most of the young people want to go to school in the United States or United Kingdom. Why would why should they choose the University of the West Indies?
And there are several reasons. Personally, the reason I chose UWI is because I believe in the value of an indigenous education, an education created for us, by us. While I do admit that an international education is also good as it offers you a wider perspective on issues, I believe that students should at least have some sort of indigenous sort of education, and UWI offers this. For example, people in the social sciences especially, I think they need a Caribbean perspective. They need to put, if you study, for example, economics or psychology in the USA or so forth, yes, you'll be very versed in the area, but when you come back to this society, it may take you longer to transfer that knowledge and apply it to the particular and unique situations of Caribbean societies. And the UWI education is very relevant as it is constantly evolving, it is constantly tailored to what is going on in our Caribbean societies. So I think that is the primary and distinguishing factor that separates the UWI education from an international education. And there are several other reasons. Secondly, I would say that the regional integration aspect of it is an excellent reason why persons should come to the UWI. We have persons from all over the region as well as international students, as we have an exchange program. And students from the UWI also get the opportunity to study in Canada, in Europe. So you still have an opportunity to get an international flavor, if you want to put it that way. But you get to know more about your Caribbean brothers and sisters. And when you know more about the Caribbean brothers and sisters, you tend to know more about yourself. So in that regard, I would say that the integration aspect is an excellent reason why a person should come to UWI. Dylan could enlighten you on perhaps the cost, put it in context.
But added to what Rosanna said, a lot of people have this perspective that since this university is in the Caribbean, then it's substandard and it's not as good as those other international universities. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of people don't know this. The University of the West Indies offers over 800 programs out of 7 faculties. And we all know the famous alumni coming from UWI, so UWI is doing something right. The premier of the BVI is a past UWI student, the deputy premier as well, the Minister of Natural Resources and Labour. So,
and many other
UWI is doing something right.
And the former deputy premier.
Right. So UWI is doing something right. It's equivalent or even better than a number of other universities. 7 faculties, over 800 programs. UWI is a premier tertiary education institution.
You mentioned, Rosanna, that there are opportunities to study in Europe as though those opportunities spring out of UWI. Is that the case? What's the relationship between UWI and the United States or Europe if you want to go and study?
Okay, well, there are partnerships. So, for example, there's one with the York University in Canada, where, for example, UWI might send 5 students to their university and they would send 5 to ours. Students have the option of spending 1 semester or spending a full school year. And they continue their program, the credits are transferred as usual, they finish at the same time. So it just offers students from both that particular school and the UWI the opportunity to do their degree in a different setting and perhaps get a different perspective that would enlighten them better on their area of study.
Okay. Now, the BVI has 2 economic pillars, financial services and tourism. And a lot of BVI landers are interested in law, interested in medicine, business, accounting, those areas. What does UWI have to offer in those areas that BVI landers might be interested in studying that will be attractive to BVI landers?
In terms of tourism, there's a hospitality and tourism program, a hospitality management program, which would be relevant to people in the tourism industry. In terms of the financial pillar, the offshore industry, persons who do law be doing things like offshore law, which is a very specialized area in which they would learn about the taxation and so forth in that area. There's also economics, accounting, banking and finance. So we have a wide range of programs in these areas. And then we have programs in business. for persons who want to branch out of these traditional pillars, because as we know, the tourism industry is very fickle in light of the recession and so forth. So we have this program called STEED, which helps persons to become entrepreneurs. Instead of coming home to look for a job, it creates that entrepreneurial spirit in which students are encouraged to create their own jobs, to be more innovative. So these are the things that the UWI offers for persons in the BVI and for everybody else.
Okay, so there's a lot to attract the BVI landers.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Now, in terms of history, what does UWI offer in terms of history? Whether it's regional history, Caribbean history, history that's national specific or country specific. Is there anything that a BVI lander can get from UWI regarding history?
There's a history program in the Humanities and Education faculty.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that the scope of that program would be quite extensive. I know a few history students, so there's really a lot at UWI for the BVI student.
And in the history program, like there are different, in terms of the program, you study histories from different parts of the world. So you might look at African antiquity, you might look at European history. So the programs are well developed. So you look at a broad range of different types of histories. And there's also a graduate level to it as well. So you could pursue a specialized area of history that you might be interested in. And as you speak about history, it's also in the informal curriculum in the sense that UWI is steeped in tradition. We're over 60 years old, and there's this general sense of pride that when you go to UWI, you feel like you're part of a wider Caribbean family. You join the likes of very well-known Caribbean people such as the deceased Rex Nettleford and many other distinguished Caribbean alumni. So that history in that sense, in that you're part of a wider, greater purpose when you come to UWI.
You guys take any history?
History or history course?
No. History classes?
No, we don't.
What you study?
Well, I'm a law student, okay. So...
You're a law student, you're a law student.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a Caribbean Civilization Foundation, but since we both did Caribbean studies at the Cape level, we didn't have to do it. So we experienced history at the before coming into UWI, so we didn't have to do it again.
You experienced history before coming to UWI?
Yeah, we did.
That was in high school?
Yeah, it was in high school. It wasn't an in-depth course. It was sort of a general history course
of the Caribbean.
Of the Caribbean.
I'm just focusing a little bit on history because this is Black History Month, and of course it's Black History Month in the United States. There's a initiative of the United African Americans, but we don't seem to have that connection to it. And I was wondering how much Caribbean history is being taught in UWI, but it doesn't seem like it's a requirement. Do you as young people consider history to be important?
It's very important.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound cliche, but it's often said that to know your future, you have to know your past. You don't want to repeat the errors, and to get the sense of identity, the sense of empowerment, knowing where you came from and where you can go. So history is very important. I just want to clarify the issue of history not being a requirement. It is, as I said, the Caribbean Civilization course is a requirement, but since we did it before, we were just exempted, but you must have some sort of history to continue with your degree.
Yeah, so it's sort of a requirement.
But we just got exempted as we did it before.
Okay. So what year students are you in UWI?
Both final year students.
We're both final year.
So we're leaving this year.
So you are soon to become alumni.
Yeah.
Soon.
Soon to become. So that's why you are an ambassador. You already started on your journey to be an alumni ambassador for you. Yeah. Okay, cool. So you're here to talk to the kids in the high school about leadership development and integration and all that sort of those kinds of things.
Well, our focus, as I think I said it before, is to focus on promoting the UWI and that is essentially what we're doing, because a lot of the young people are very ignorant about what exactly is being offered. And from the reactions from the school that we went to today, it was evident that there are focused young people out there who don't have information. So that is essentially in our capacity as ambassadors of the UWI, is to enlighten.
But you all don't get invited to the college fairs when the high school here?
Yeah. We'll be present in the college fair this week as well.
You'll be okay. So you're here for the college fair, more or less.
Yeah, essentially.
Put it that way.
Okay, I was wondering about that. All right, we have to take a break, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna just talk about some youth issues that the young people are familiar with, and let's see how what your thoughts are on some of these issues like integration and HIV and all those things that young people find themselves involved in these days. We're gonna be right back with more Spotlight right after these words from our sponsors. Keep it locked right here.
Spotlight is brought to you by CCT Global Communication, DataPro, Orion Law, Clarence Thomas Limited, Virgin Island Motors, and Bolo's Wholesale Cash and Carry.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Ed Juenka. I'm here with two young people from the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus in Barbados, Brother Dalen Martin and Sister Rosanna John. And we're having a college fair coming up, and they are here to talk about the University of the West Indies campus and how you can participate, get involved, get enrolled, go there, enjoy education in the Caribbean region, what are the offerings, the course offerings, and how it suits Virgin Islanders, people from the Virgin Islands. The phone number is going to come up on the screen, and you can call us, you can text and ask your questions about, those of you who want to go to college, who are thinking about maybe going to college in Europe or the United States. You might want to reconsider being closer to home. And off there, we were talking about the open campus, and there is an open campus here that you can go to the campus, but get enrolled in the University of the West Indies and stay at home for a period of time before you would have to go to one of the campuses, whether it's Barbados or Jamaica or Trinidad, and be on site. So you still have an opportunity to stay here and still be enrolled in UWI as well. Talk to us a little bit about that, or have I said it all?
Okay, I sort of said it all there, but I'll still talk about it. Well, the open campus, as I said, is the fourth campus, one of the 4 campuses of the UWI. Now, it's not an actual physical campus like St. Augustine in Trinidad or Cave Hill in Barbados. It's where the student is given the opportunity to pursue his degree online. Now, we understand that there are a number of scenarios and situations in families where, for instance, a mother who comes from a family of 2 with her husband and child may now decide that she wants to pursue her dream of being an accountant or doing an accounting degree. She doesn't necessarily have to leave her country, the BVI, leave her country and her family and go to St. Augustine or Cave Hill or Mona. She could pursue it online. She could do a BSc in accounting at the open campus right here online. Now, let's say that she didn't meet the minimum requirements of 5 O-levels and an associate degree from a community college. She can still apply. Now, what will happen is that she may be subject to an interview or a test, and based on that, and she may have to submit information about her professional life since she left formal education, the formal education system, and she may be accepted to do her BSc in accounting.
Okay, so your life experience is counted as value to the university.
Life experience as in not willing to leave your family and those sort of things?
No, I mean in what you've learned over time, your job and so on. Because you just said that...
Yeah, they will take all those things into account.
Yeah.
But what will happen is that they won't enter at the level that the ordinary student will enter. They will enter at a lower level, do a preliminary set of courses which would prepare them for the actual substantive degree, and then they will advance to the degree program.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you know it, but BVI have BVI landers have British citizenship, and as such, our children can go to UK, for example, and be local in the UK. Meaning that, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with certain colleges, international colleges, they have one fee schedule for locals and another fee schedule for international students. A BVI lander is considered a local in the UK, which means that the cost of the education is considerably less, sometimes half of what an international student would pay, which I suspect would make it very competitive, make the UK very competitive with the University of the West Indies. How does the cost stack up? The cost of the education in UWI, how does it match? How does it compare to the cost in an international community?
Well, we're not familiar with the cost of the international community, and we can't give you the exact figures offhand. But for instance, a degree in social sciences, for an entire school year, since BVI is also a contributing country towards the UWI, it is about 15,000 Barbados dollars. Split that in half, as the currency is 2 to 1. You'll be paying about 7,000.
About 7,500.
Yes,
okay.
And you multiply that by 3,
okay.
So around 21.
So it's about $7,500 a year. Yes, a school year.
75?
7,500.
Oh,
right. Yes. 7,500 US dollars a school year.
Yeah.
More or less. Right. So. Okay, so well, yeah, because let me see, some schools in the UK is around 5,000 pounds, which will be like around the same price.
And then we have to take into consideration the cost of living, which would be in pounds, which would be more expensive. The cost of the flight to and from home.
So it is competitive and perhaps cheaper, and you're closer, and then you don't have to pay for winter clothes and
so in those circumstances.
Plus the other issues you already mentioned, the cultural and.
Now you said that people have the perception that because it's the University of the West Indies, the education is substandard.
No.
Now, that's a very serious thing, because the BVI landers are probably among the persons that say that or think that. What is UWI doing and going to do to rid the region of that perception?
Well,
or is that something that the UWI is concerned about? You mentioned it, so they must be concerned about it.
The reason why I mention it is because I interact with a lot of young people. That's basically my job. So and on the ground, you get the feeling that, and they will say, well, I'm going to America to do my degree. I am going to UK to do my degree. I don't want a UWI degree. I've heard those exact words because they are under the impression that UWI is somehow inferior. Yeah? So I imagine that this is a matter that UWI is concerned with, and steps are being taken to improve the system. I know that before only law was being only offered at the Cable campus in Barbados. So, and recently now law is being offered in Jamaica and Trinidad as well, and various other initiatives that UWI is taking to improve their programs and that sort of stuff. So I don't know about the specifics to mention which one is which, but I know that there are various other initiatives that UWI is taking.
Okay, but and then you don't know of any statistics, for example, how well UWI students are doing internationally, you know, or how well UWI graduates, I mean, are doing in the region or internationally. Does UWI have a tracking system after you graduate? You're going to graduate this year with a law degree. Does UWI have a tracking system to say, well, Dalen is keeping in touch, Dalen is now studying in UK and he's called to the bar in Trinidad, and he's having this success, and you know, Dr. Smith is now the premier of the BBI, and you know, and have those sort of that sort of data to show that persons or graduates from the UE, University of West Indies, are making their mark all over the world, which would say that the education is on standard, on par with other standards in the world.
Well, not in a formal
So you don't know if you have that data.
Not in the formal sense of which you speak, but in terms of the Alumni Association, they would keep record of how persons do when persons get into contact with that association. And we also have on our administration building, we have lots of portraits of notable alumni. So when you walk in, you see notable people who have come from the UE. So there is, not in the formal sense of which you speak, and perhaps that is something that can be looked into, but there is on a more informal level in terms of the Alumni Association and in terms of publications, like in the magazines and so forth.
Okay. As young people in the Caribbean, what are some of the topical issues that you all deal with on a regular basis, or young people your age and your status involving what y'all discussing in Barbados, and what y'all passionate about?
I'm going to have to say HIV and AIDS.
That's a big deal.
It's one of the bigger issues, because this is actually a startling fact. The Caribbean region has the second highest infection rate of HIV/AIDS. So it's a serious matter whether we want to accept it or not. It's a serious matter, and a lot of people are not educated about how you could contract HIV, what you need to do to prevent it, and those sort of issues regarding, and whether AIDS could kill you or whether it's other diseases could kill you, and those sort of issues, people need education. So,
and the young people, anybody, the whole strategy now to get people tested, for example, that seems to be an important thrust. How is that working with young people? Have you had a test? Have you had an AIDS test?
I have had to know my status. It's important.
Okay, so how are other young people in the Caribbean dealing with that issue? You find that it's easy to get them to go and take a test, that most people are beginning to feel comfortable knowing their status?
Well, one of the problems that we are being told, for example, from organizations such as UEHARP, which is an HIV organization in Cable, is that the biggest problem is behavioral change. While people are becoming more and more aware of what to do, but it's that process from thought to action, getting persons to actually change their behavior and getting rid of the stigma. The stigma still persists, so persons might be reluctant, although they know they should get tested. Just the stigma of having had a test prevents persons from doing that. So the issues of stigma and discrimination, I believe, are the more pertinent issues today, instead of just the information about it. How to get persons to not stigmatize other persons with the disease and to not discriminate. So that's the gray area right now.
What are you guys hearing about affecting behavior change? Like, what is causing young people to behave the way they are behaving, and what? I mean, I'm saying, what are you hearing? I'm not saying that, you know, I know that you're not experts in this, and I don't want to put you on the spot. And I'm just wondering if you're hearing, well, young people weak morally, the moral fabric of the society has broken down, so young people don't know what is the correct way to behave. They don't know what is the dangerous way to behave, what the safe way to behave. Is that discussion being had in your circles
with respect to
HIV behavior change? With respect to behavior change,
as in their behavior with stigmatizing,
as in their behavior in having safe sex, abstinence, meaningful relationships, you know, what is a good relationship, what is a bad relationship, how to say no, saving yourself for marriage, focusing on your career. What in a person's spirit, for example, that allows them to go on a path that is not that is harmful to them? Are those discussions being had in your circles, or have you come in contact with those decisions?
It boils down, I think, and Rosanna might add to what I say, but it boils down, I think, to education because I heard you mention having unprotected sex and those sort of things. It's because people are uneducated. They feel, well, they could take a chance, and, you know, when they don't know the actual statistics, they don't know that how many thousands of people died from AIDS, from contracting HIV over the past years. So I think it boils down to education. People genuinely believe that, this is back to the issue of discrimination, people actually believe that they could get HIV by touching somebody who's infected. So that just speaks to the level of education and the level of ignorance that people actually have. So, yeah, and then you spoke about the issue of saving yourself for marriage. That is a broad issue, which has a number of influential factors. For instance, religious factors. There are certain religions that promote no sex before marriage, or save yourself for when you get married. And so it's a number of issues involved in that single point, but I don't know what Rosanna thinks about it, what do you think?
In terms of the moral fabric you were speaking about, well, first of all, let's make the point that AIDS is not only contracted from unprotected sex.
Yeah.
So we can't just make the assumption that you have unprotected sex, you'll have AIDS. But in terms of the argument...
But that is a predominant...
the predominant method of contraction.
Yes.
Yes. In terms of the moral fabric of society, I think in terms of that, the family plays a pivotal role. We see in the Caribbean there are a lot of single-parent families, a lot of broken families. A lot of young people are seeking love in the wrong places. And in so doing, they're not protecting themselves. They're being pressured. They don't have that sense of self-worth and self-value, so they're easily influenced by the wrong persons. So I believe if at the family level, at the home level, and perhaps even at the school and the church level, the social institutions, youth are taught to empower and value themselves, they'll be more careful about the decisions they make. My life has worth, my life has value, and I need to take maximum care of it. I think that might be an approach when persons learn to respect and value their lives and themselves. That might be an approach that could be considered in terms of HIV awareness and just general awareness of oneself.
Okay, we gotta take a break, and we're gonna come back and talk some more about that and other things. The number is on the screen, so please feel free to call at any time, or you can text at any time if you want to ask about the UE campuses and how you can get enrolled and whatever you might want to talk about and share with the young people. So we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
This program is sponsored by the law firm of J.S. Archibald & Co. and by the trust company J.S. Archibald Trust Services Limited, both of Rotown, Tortola, BVI.
Welcome back to Spotlight, and I'm here with Dalen Martin and Rosanna John from the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus in Barbados. They're here to promote the University of the West Indies, get BVI Islanders to enroll in the college in the Caribbean region, specifically the University of the West Indies. And they're also here to participate in the college fair that's going to be held in a couple of days. When is the college fair? I should know this.
This Thursday.
That's Thursday coming, right? Yeah. It's going to be at HLSCC. Right? And you guys are giving a talk at HLSCC. When is that?
A lunchtime talk.
A lunchtime talk.
I believe the college fair is being held in Elmore Stout High School.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So that was just a correction. Yeah.
And you're giving a talk, a luncheon talk at the Community College.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's on
tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. That's Wednesday. At what time?
At approximately 12. At approximately 12 p.m.
Okay. There's a lot of talk about regional integration. You know, the OECS, CARICOM, you know, single market and economy. The young people of the KVL campus, the University of the West Indies, those persons that you come in contact with, do you guys talk about these things, and do y'all have like heated debates? What are some of the positions that the young people in your circles?
The regional integration is a very, very relevant issue, especially at the KVL campus, because we are the most integrated, and especially in the law faculty, as it is one of the most integrated faculties. Although this is being changed as Jamaica and Trinidad are opening their own law faculties, but currently it is one of the most integrated. And it is a very relevant topic and a very heated and debated topic. We have two extremes. Persons who firmly believe in regional integration, I am one of them, and persons who do not. Unfortunately, the persons who do not believe in regional integration are in the minority. But the general spirit coming out of KVL is that regional integration is a necessity. It is a must, especially in this period we're living in. It is the only way forward.
Why? What's so necessary about regional integration?
But we're seeing all the regional blocks coming together with the liberalization of the markets and so forth in terms of survival, especially as small islands with small economies. The only way we can survive, per se, is to come together. As this commonly said, there is unity in strength. However, the problem I see with regional integration is that it's coming from the top. It's at a political and economic level, and the average man on the street is being left out. The average man on the street does not really see the relevance of what is going on in Jamaica, what's going on in Grenada. What does that have to do with me putting food on the plate for my family? As would be evinced in the fall of the Federation, there is still this level of insularity and distrust among Caribbean citizens. And I think that stems from ignorance. There are other stereotypes. Jamaicans are aggressive, Bajans or Barbadians think they're better than everyone else. Trinidadians like to party. Like, they're just these stereotypes that prevent people from wanting to unite. But I think that education, because when we come to KVL and we meet persons, we realize that these stereotypes are myths, that at our core we're all one people, we're all face similar issues, we have a similar culture, that what separates us is water. That's the only thing that separates us, that we are basically one people. And at UWI, we are coming to see that because we get to interact with one another.
The school itself, what role is it playing in fostering that integration process? Is it aggressive, proactive, or just letting things flow? Because, you know, this whole regional integration is a thing before I was born, and I'm a little older than you guys, not much. But this has been a goal for many years, and I think you're both agreeing, and all of us are agreeing, that education is part of that process that's going to foster that integration. Why haven't we been able to do it? And from a young person's perspective, what you think that we should be doing to help to foster that integration? Is it doing anything? Is it doing enough? It's not doing anything?
Well, in terms of proactively pursuing regional integration, we have UWI-STAT, which is one of the organs. We have, well, I'm the VP of CARICOM Relations for UWI-STAT, and we have several initiatives. For example, we had the CARICOM quiz last semester, in which we had different islands go against each other on Caribbean facts. We have a campaign called Integration Through Education, where we also provide facts online about the different islands. We have the Prime Minister's Lecture, in which we invite regional prime ministers to speak on topical issues. And other things, such as we had Caribbean Integration Week last week, which we had a series of events. We had a mock CARICOM Heads of Government meeting, in which we represented our different countries in the sense that the conference of CARICOM actually does. So we spoke about information communication technologies, we spoke about CSME, we spoke about foreign policy. So we were intimately involved with what our leaders do. We also had a panel discussion on Caribbean identity. We had the Calypsonian Gabby, He spoke to us about our African roots and us being proud of ourselves and embracing our Caribbean identity. So there are a series of activities throughout the semester. Panel discussions are constantly being held. Is Caribbean integration a reality? Is it a myth? So there's a lot of discussion. But the problem I see with this, especially at UE, is that regional integration has become an academic topic. It's something we speak about all the time, but it just remains at that, a discussion. So there needs to be a move into action. I think that's where we are right now, getting words into action.
There seems to be a sense of fear of integration. Is that an accurate depiction of the situation, that you're basically afraid to integrate with other countries that, well, let me ask you, from a youth perspective, what is that fear? What does that fear stem from? And what is the fear itself? What you're afraid of?
Okay, as I said before, there's ignorance and distrust. For instance, let's take the situation of the Guyanese. A lot of people, Guyanese, are known to work for less and to work more. Some people would say, why are they coming to my country and taking my jobs? The look should be that we are all one Caribbean people, and the Caribbean belongs to all of us. So there's this sense of, these are Trinidadians, these are Bajans. We don't see ourselves as one people. We see these people as foreigners coming into our territories. We don't see it as us sharing our resources, as coming together, as pooling. We just see them as foreigners. That is why we need to learn about each other and embrace each other and teach us as a family. Because in a family, if a brother is sick and he needs your help and he needs something from you, you would want to help that brother. So we need to see ourselves as a family instead of as a foreigner coming into another land. Seeing each other as one.
But won't you have to give up your sense of national identity? Isn't that a real issue? To make this, I'm a Bivy Islander.
Yeah.
And as a Bivy Islander, I'm entitled to certain things in the BVI that no one else should be entitled to. Because I can't come to Barbados and Trinidad and Grenada and be entitled to those things. And if I allow other people to come and be entitled to those things, I would then be competing with, instead of 30,000 BVI Islanders, hundreds of thousands of Grenadians and hundreds of thousands of Trinidadians.
That's a very relevant point you make, and the deterrence of CSME and Caribbean integration often raise it. But the thing is, the thing about it, as I said before, we're all one people. And the point you're saying, competing with others, competition makes us better. And in terms of CSME, it's not like a free-for-all, open the floodgates, everyone gets to come in. There are restrictions. For example, with CSME, only 10 classes of people are allowed to travel. So we have persons with degrees, skilled personnel. So there are restrictions. It's not open the gates and everyone just comes. So there are restrictions and regulations to ensure that some order and some preferential treatment to a degree is kept.
Okay. Switching a little bit, young people in politics. It irks me personally and particularly to see how our young people behave when it comes to politics. And what I mean is that we look, the young people look to the politicians for assistance instead of forming a structure of their own out of which they can harness their power to influence the distribution of goods and services on their behalf. I don't know if that's clear. But as young people in your respective countries, what role do you think young people should be playing in the political process, and how should they be playing that role? Do y'all have any views on that?
What role young people should be playing in
the political process, like in Trinidad?
Yeah.
The youth in Trinidad. What do you think the role of the youth should be from a political perspective in Trinidad?
That's a very general question. Now, you want to pinpoint exactly what You're referring to what role in terms of
the distribution of goods and services, because that is that's a major issue for young people. We want jobs, we want education, we want health care, we want to own our own homes, we want to improve our quality of life, we want jobs. We want to have businesses. We want to be facilitated in developing our businesses. We want to have all the opportunities that our country would afford to everyone. As young people, we want to be on that ladder as well, right? But I find here, we go to the politicians and we say, you know, it's almost like we're in a begging situation, you know. I need your help. I need your help to start a business. I need to get, our education system needs more things, and you need to help us to get that. How do the youth in your country approach the similar distribution of services that young people need for them to thrive and grow and become, have a meaningful quality of life and realize their full potential?
Well, I could speak on, well, not on behalf, but I could speak about my country, which is Trinidad and Tobago. I guess Rosanna could speak about Grenada, but in Trinidad and Tobago, for instance, the government and past governments as well have opened up opportunities. You spoke a lot about opportunities for young people to advance themselves, to open business, etc. The governments are taking active steps to ensure that, one, the young people are educated, and two, the young people get jobs. For instance, I am a recipient of a national scholarship in Trinidad. So in addition to having everything paid for me to go through the university, part of my contract requires me to work for the government. So in essence, what happens is once I'm educated, they will find a job for me. And once that period of working is over, I will then have the requisite work experience that employers often ask for to expand myself and to go into other, you know, other arenas, etc. And even if you're not a scholarship winner, I believe a number of governments, Trinidad and Tobago for instance, have made tertiary education, the tuition aspect of it, paid for. So the government actually reduce your costs to make it more accessible to the young people to educate themselves, get a tertiary level education. And there are certain systems in place. For instance, if you graduate from your first degree or bachelor's program with first class honors, you could do your master's for free. So the governments are taking active steps, and young people these days, I believe, need to motivate themselves to take full advantage, because apart from these academic institutions, there are a lot of other programs which cater for the young person who does not like to read, who doesn't like academics, but wants to be a mason or a plumber. They will teach them the skills they need to become qualified, to become trained, and to become knowledgeable in those fields as well. So it's not only an academic question, it's a non-academic question as well, to cater to all the types of young people. So yeah, that's basically it. Okay.
You wanted to add anything to that? Is it different in your country? How do you see the youth role in politics in your country?
In terms of the educational aspect that
in terms of all the services that that young people want for themselves, and my question to him is going to be, is it that the leadership is identifying these needs for young people, and what needs are young people identifying for themselves and making those needs known to the electorate? Right, because I'm going to ask you that question, but before I ask you that question, I'm going to ask both of you. But I want to get I'm trying to get a sense of how young people are faring in other Caribbean countries regarding their relationship to their governments and the distributions of services that they may need to realize their full potential. How they accessing those services? Are they making demands, or they're waiting for the elected representative to bring those things to them?
Okay. Well, in terms of education, it's not as progressive as in Trinidad, where it's free. But what the government does do, in the sense that it identifies areas where there's a lack of employment. So for example, law. It is very unusual that you would get a scholarship for law, as this area is very saturated. However, for things like IT, the government would offer scholarships in places like China and Morocco. So the government is identifying areas where there's a lack of skill, and it's offering scholarships in those areas. In terms of unskilled work, the government has been inviting a lot of, for example, call centers and so, because unemployment is perhaps the biggest issue for youth in Grenada right now, getting employment. So to provide employment, that is what the government is trying to do. It's trying to diversify and look for areas where the youth can work. Also training in different public sector areas so they can work in different offices and so forth. In terms of the youth per se pursuing jobs and being proactive about it, I'll have to agree that the situation is similar to that of the BVI that you spoke about, in that it's just expected that the government is supposed to take care of you. So you just go through the system, and the government is supposed to get you a job and supposed to provide for you. And I think perhaps a move that is being tried, and as I mentioned before with UWI, is entrepreneurship, in which persons are not encouraged to sit back and wait to be hired by someone, but to identify areas where there's a need and to provide the service themselves to create their own jobs. So that's the direction that is being taken, but it hasn't gone very far as yet.
Okay, we're going to take a break for a word from our sponsors, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk about that a little bit more from this perspective of what youth organizations exist and how they function in galvanizing youth to access the services that they need. So we're going to come right back with more spotlight and our young people from the Cave Hill campus in Barbados, University of the West Indies, right after these words from our sponsors.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Tortola Concrete Limited, Orion Law, Clarence Thomas Limited, Virgin Island Motors, and Bolo's Wholesale Cash and Carry.
Welcome back to the Spotlight. I'm Ed Juenka, and I'm here having an interesting discussion with two young people from the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus in Barbados. They are here to participate in the college fair that's coming up on Thursday. They're going to be holding a lunch discussion at HLSCC tomorrow, and we're just having a general discussion. I got some texts that came in. I'm just going to go to them before I get back to our discussion about youth organizations and how the youth are faring in your respective countries. So let me see. I always heard, even from students who went to the University of the West Indies, that the University of the West Indies' aim is to fail students. Is that true?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
University, as we mentioned before, it's there to help you and empower you. Why would the university want to fail its students? It has a high standard, of course, to maintain a quality education. And I believe once you go to your classes, lecturers are very available if you don't understand material, that you should be able to do well.
And this goes back to the issue we were talking about earlier. Young people have this big misconception or misconceptions about the University of the West Indies. So it's all about educating them, and that's essentially where we come in. So,
okay. You think that your ambassadorial roles is enough to get that information out? Should UWI be doing more? I don't see a lot of UWI advertisements on radio, on television, in the BVI. I mean, for example, right now you have the University of the Virgin Islands having a massive campaign on radio and television to attract students on there. I know that there's a move afoot to even attract students, BVI students, to the UK and steal some of them from the US. You know, so colleges around the world putting out their ads and promoting themselves to go to various fairs and do commercials on television and radio. UWI, it seems, content to send young people around the Caribbean to to promote them. You think that's enough?
It's a different angle, because as current university students, we are in the system, so we're not being paid. So this is just us giving our honest opinion. We're not being paid like how marketing officers whose job is to sell university. This is just us current students telling our experiences, and perhaps being on a closer age range to the people we speak to, we can reach them in a different manner than perhaps the marketing officers from the different universities can. So it's a different approach. What is the most effective?
Well, that's the question. This is good. I'm not knocking this at all. I'm just asking, is it enough? Because when you come once a year. I think it was last year I had a couple ambassadors as well. I'm not sure it was last year or the year before, but I know I've had ambassadors before from the UV. Once a year, is that enough?
Well, we have an open campus here. We have an actual physical building. We have. And
is that enough?
Perhaps you can see that perhaps more can be done.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of promotion here in the BVI for UV. For people to go to UV,
Yeah, one of our roles is to give feedback to the Vice Chancellor as well. So perhaps this is something we can articulate to him. That the BVI wants more information once more.
Yeah, it's certainly an issue that's with discussion. So.
Okay. As Morrison said, after completing my bachelor's in Canada, I decided that I wanted to do a program in natural resource management. I had very good grades, yet I was never accepted. So I figured it is a struggle to get accepted in the UV. How difficult it is. Is UV filled? Do you have a limit on space? Available space to accept students? Say like a cutoff point. Well, this year we only could accept 250 students from throughout the region. Is there such a thing? How is UV dealing with persons that want to come? Can anybody, as long as you're qualified and you meet the requirements and the criteria and the standards, can you get into the university?
Yeah, I think that's the general policy.
It varies from faculty to faculty.
Right, some faculties will be more competitive than others. You have famous faculties like law,
and medicine.
Like law and medicine, where a lot of people apply, a lot of people are highly qualified to enter. So it's just a question of whether you get in or not. So it's not a matter of turning back people.
It's a matter of available space.
Yes, but we see like the campus is diversifying and it's expanding as we see more faculties being opened in the different campuses. We can't speak to that particular degree, and this is a graduate studies program, so we're not familiar with admissions policy, but it would be safe to say that perhaps it was competitive at that time.
Thank you for calling Spotlight. Go right ahead, please.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, I just tuned into the program actually. I was interested to ask the representative of UE. In the future, would there be like an aviation program? I know a lot of Caribbean students, like myself, want to do aviation and would not like to go to the States. To do that, I would like to stay in the Caribbean, work for my own Caribbean Airlines or any Caribbean company. I did some research, but UE doesn't offer those sort of programs that I'm aware of. I was in Barbados recently, about a year and a half ago, and going back to what Mr. Smith was saying about advertising, haven't seen advertisement in Barbados as well, at the Keyville campus. I would pass it every day going to Bridgetown, and I wouldn't see any kind of advertisement being done at Barbados. But yeah, I know the school is there. Well, my question is basically, would there be an aviation program in the future for Caribbean students to attend to UE instead of going abroad?
Yes. Thank you, my brother, for that call.
Thanks.
Okay.
Well, that's an excellent point, but as far as we know, there are no plans at the moment.
Yeah, but it's certainly something we go back and report to the Vice Chancellor about. So we're just collecting
data. And as you said, you see the need for keeping the UWI course offerings in the people's minds. You know, if you don't know what's available, you think the only thing that is available is in the UK. Anything that's available for you is in the UK or in the US. So, you know, you need that constant reminder that UWI has X, Y, and Z, these course offerings, and it fits nicely into what you want. You're at home, you're among familiar people, it's close to, you know, the transportation back and forth. If you want to come home for Christmas, you know, you don't have to come all the way from the UK, which is, the price is, you know, exorbitant. So those are some of the issues that perhaps you need to take a look at. Is there a social side to life at UWI that can be discussed?
Yes, a very active one.
A very active one?
Yes.
Meaning what?
Okay, well, we have organizations to cater to every type of personality, any type of person. So I'll start, Dylan can speak to you about sports.
Yeah, I will talk about sports. Okay. Well, for instance, last year, the UWI hosted the Intercampus Games. Now, this is where representatives in a number of different sporting fields from each of the campuses compete. Now, the sporting activities include basketball, football, hockey, netball, lawn tennis, table tennis. What else? Swimming, athletics. So it's
track and field.
Yeah, athletics, track and field. So it's a long list of sports that the students could get involved in. So UWI doesn't only cater to the academic side of the student. Rosanna will talk about the different organizations like UWI STAT that we are in. I am also in the Trinidad and Tobago Students Association, which is an association which caters to the needs of the Trinbago students living and studying in KFL Barbados.
Okay, hold on a second. Thank you for calling Spotlight. Go right ahead, please. You're on Spotlight. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, nice.
Peace.
I have two comments. It probably isn't a question. In terms of fees compared to the other tertiary educational facilities around the world, how would you all compare what do we have to offer? And I recently program targeting mainly young students. There's a lot of adults between the age of probably 30 to 50 who does the open campus. One of the things that I find, because I've been a one semester person at the campus really. Orientation, the programs are not user friendly for somebody who just beginning at a location like this. You don't really have much options in terms of assistance or stuff like that. That is something I think that you need to report up to the trans because for somebody who just gets thrown into the system, it's very tough to get around the online process, working and juggling this, you know, and you don't have a physical person being here that can guide you through the process. So, probably that's something that you can think about.
All right. Thank you very much, my brother, for the call. Okay. I think we have 3 questions there. The older person, you know, you're young people and you're trying to attract young people, of course, out of high school. But the older person that want to start their education, continue their education, improve their education, how does UWI fare in that?
Well, as we mentioned before, the open campus, and the gentleman also mentioned the open campus, and his problem seemed to be that it's not user-friendly.
Right, that was the other question.
Yeah, so we'll have to report it to the Vice Chancellor because we're not in the open campus, so we can't speak as to how it works in practice. But this is something that we can report back to him. and see what can be done about it.
We talked earlier about the cost comparison with the UK. It seemed comparable to a local student in the UK. Has the UWI administration done any comparison and given you any comparison regarding costs in other countries around the world or its competitors?
No, it hasn't, but it has given us scholarship information, so persons can attend the UE virtually free of cost. We have the Arthur Lewis Scholarship that would apply here at the BVI. We have the Open Scholarship. So there are other ways that a person can come to the UE free of cost.
And what are the criteria to access that free education?
Well, the Arthur Lewis Scholarship does not apply for law and medicine. It applies to the social sciences and the humanities, and it's tenable at the Cave Hill campus. In terms of qualifications, it would vary on the batch of students at the time, but it would be based on your A-level performance or your associate degree, how well you did. So it's competitive, and as well as your needs and your social background, if you're an involved person and things like that. So different criteria will be assessed. In terms of the Open Scholarship, a test in both math and English proficiency is taken.
Okay, so you apply and you assess, and if you meet certain criteria, you accept it.
Yes, all this information can be found on the UE website.
And what's the UE website?
www.cavehill.ue.edu.
Okay, look at the people and tell them.
UWI.
Yes, UWI.
Yeah.
UWI.
Yes.
Each campus has a different
website.
So for instance, in Mona, Jamaica, you have mona.uwi.edu. Cave Hill will be cavehill.uwi.edu, and St. Augustine will be sta.uwi.edu. Okay. So all the information you want,
you can find it. Okay. Good night. I just want to say welcome and good topic, and I want to say that the young lady is very intelligent. Keep focusing.
Thank you.
Don't feel slighted.
No. That's probably a guy. Today's Valentine's Day, so he definitely trying a thing. So.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. We have a few more minutes left.
Well, we were speaking about the social aspects at UE.
The social aspects of UE.
Yeah. Well,
what?
Dylan spoke about sports. For religious persons, we have the Catholic Students Movement. We have Campus Crusade for Christ. For persons who like to debate, who want to develop their public speaking skills, we have the UE Debating Society. For persons who like to dance and creative performance, that's another thing I would like to highlight. That UE has a creative degree, a bachelor's of fine arts. So persons who like dance, theater, film, we have a degree for that. But in terms of extracurricular, we have a dance society. We also have a political science society for persons who are interested in things that are going on, the current affairs, who want to debate about the politics and so forth. The political science society. We have a young young economist society, sorry. We have an accountant society. We have a law society. So all the different disciplines, we have societies and clubs for them. We have parties on campus. We have panel discussions for those who want to speak on stimulating topics. We have island associations. There's just so much. There's always something going on campus.
Sounds like a big, a lot of social events.
Yeah, there's never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. Every week is something.
Every week there is something going on.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm glad that person asked that question. I hope you got a good answer. We have fallen under the 30 o'clock. Anything we missed that you want to take an opportunity to talk to the audience about?
I think we basically covered everything. We just want to urge the people of the BVI to consider UE, because a lot of people don't consider it at all. Give it a fair chance. I think we've given you a good argument as to why you should at least consider us. So we're just inviting you. It's a warm place, and you're welcome to join us at the UE family.
Check out the website. Remember the website, uwi.edu, and there's an open campus in BVI as well. So any information they need, they could get to that.
So whatever they don't remember about what you said, they could call the open campus here and they can get all that information from that open campus as well.
Sure.
Yeah, and we'll take their concerns to the Vice Chancellor because we're really interested in having BVI as part of a stronger presence of BVI students, because we do have BVI students, but a stronger presence at DOE.
Great. Well, Mr. David Martin and Ms. Rosanna John, thank you very much for being my guest on Spotlight. It's certainly been a pleasure. Very enlightening conversation. Great to have had you.
Definitely.
And enjoy staying with BVI. And I hope you pick up some BVI students to go to.
Yeah, that's definitely.
All the best. Great. Next week, we're having two major events. We're gonna have the launching of Shine-I's new CD entitled The Foundation, and we also having the Top 7 at 7 award show that's coming up the next weekend. So we are I think it's the 3rd and 4th of March. So we're going to have Brother Shine-I talking about his music, talking about the foundation, what it means, and the positive influence he's attempting to have on the youth and the BVI. We're going to be talking about that. It's going to be an interesting discussion in light of Black History Month. Also, Brother Craig Lake, popularly known as DJ Pushpop, who is the founder of the Top 7 at 7. And we'll be talking to him about the new talent, the BVI talent that's going to be showcased at the awards show, and how you can participate, how you can get involved, and what are some of the great accomplishments and achievements of the young BVI talent that we've seen develop here over the years. Some have gone abroad, some have made hit records, and we can see the talent in the BVI developing and going to a different level. So we'll have those conversations with both Shine-I and Craig Lake, DJ Pushpop, next Spotlight next Tuesday evening. So make sure you tune in to the Spotlight. I want to thank you for your words of encouragement, your criticism, your suggestions. You continue to email me at jtvspotlight@yahoo.com. You also can check us out on the website, jtvlive.net. You can see a repeat of the shows. You can look at old shows. If you missed something this evening, you can go back and see what you've missed. So check out the jtvlive.net and check out all the shows, all the programs, particularly Spotlight. Remember, in this Black History Month, the people without knowledge of their history and culture is like a tree without roots. I'm Edgewenka, reminding you that when the spotlight is on, you see the facts. Peace and blessings.
This program is sponsored by the law firm of J.S. Archibald & Co. and by the trust company J.S. Archibald Trust Services Limited, both of Roadtown, Tortola, BVI.